Hello and welcome back. Whether you've already played Dave the Diver or just picking it up for the first time, here are my 20 tips that I wish I knew when I started playing Dave the Diver. Tip number 1. Before you even start, make sure you enable auto-click. This will make it easier to capture some fish as well as to escape a few others. This tip is vital for preserving your controller life and to ensure that you don't get drift in the first few weeks of playing this game. The auto-click is a lifesaver because the game gives you some of the QTEs which are literally impossible to do. Even when you have auto-click enabled, they are still impossible to do. You do have to attack the fish in some scenarios twice more before it's actually doable. This seems like a really nasty thing to do because if you didn't enable auto-click, you'd end up destroying your controller for a QTE that was impossible to begin with. Tip number 2. Overload your storage capacity when it's safe to do so, when there are no boss fights or sharks coming up. You can squeeze in a few extra kilos of fish before you see the completely full symbol. This will help you a lot, especially in the early hours of the game when you have very few fish. Having just those extra few kilos could mean a level up on your menu, resulting in making a lot more money in the long run. Tip number 3. For small to medium fish, a good way to kill the dangerous ones is to harpoon loop them. Now that you can overload your capacity, how do you kill small to medium fish? I don't know the technical term for it, but I call it harpoon looping. You take advantage of the game's harpoon attack animation where the fish swims away from you. This places the fish further away from you. You are then safe for a bit, and during this time you immediately attack again, and the fish will once again be further away from you. Keep doing this and the fish will die, doing no damage to you at all during this time. Tip number 4. Now that you can kill medium dangerous fish, try not to bother too much with non-violent fish. The violent ones, or the ones that can hurt you, tend to sell for a lot more money. This leads me to the next tip. Tip number 5. The deeper depth fish are more worth your time. The tiger shark versus the white tip reef shark, for example, the tiger shark does end up selling for a lot more money. Tip number 6. You followed tip 5 and fought a tiger shark, but what is this? Oh no, your storage is full. Use the in-water menu. It's useful for discarding items, especially if you kill a shark and need to get rid of a Nemo. You can also deselect some tasks to clear up the screen. This is especially useful when you're fighting something and it's behind a bunch of the quests that you need to complete. So you can just clear up those quests and then you can see the tiger shark, for example, behind all of those quests. Tip number 7. Tip number 4 and 5 showed you the basics of making money. Tip 7 is to have a look at your menu. Find out what different dishes are worth and which are more worth your time. Some dishes with more than just fish sell for a lot more than others. For example, if you combine rice and sushi with maybe a plant or two, it will end up selling for a lot more than if you just sold the fish by itself. Tip number 8. Pick up every gun in the beginning, even guns you don't want. This helps a lot in the beginning with getting all the blueprints. You can drop it again and then disassemble it once you've unlocked disassembling. So you don't need to have the gun till the end to unlock the blueprint, you just need to pick it up. Tip number 9. While making and upgrading guns, double check to not accidentally make another gun when trying to get to the upgrading menu. I've done this loads of times. Although if you do, it's not too big of an issue since you can use the extra guns for the different upgrade parts later along the way. Tip number 10. My top gun choices / builds are the Hush Dart, Tranquilizer Rifle and Net Gun. My favorite harpoon tip also has to be the Tranquilizer harpoon tip. This build is perfect for catching whole fish, and whole fish give a lot more sushi. The Tranq gun is perfect for deeper levels. It does damage, has a decent amount of ammo, and if RNG is on your side, then it's basically a one-shot KO. For shallower levels, the net gun is ideal. The net gun is especially useful during the nighttime for those tiny horrible little red fish that come and swarm at you, because maybe one or two shots and you would have gotten most of them. Combining this build with a max drone is the perfect build, and that leads me to tip number 11. Tip number 11. What to upgrade. Get the drone upgrades ASAP. They keep after dying and can carry a ton of weight if used right. You can catch multiple tuna in one net and then just use the drone to take all of the tuna in one go, saving you a ton of weight from your storage. Besides the drone, storage is also really important. Most of the rest of the upgrades can be ignored for a bit if you have enough skill. The harpoon isn't too important if you have the trank rifle. And the dive suit only needs to be upgraded as the story requires you to go deeper. Only upgrade the guns you really like, and the rest is up to your own preference and money. Tip number 12. Speak to Cobra often. Not him personally, but check his shop daily. It has some pretty nice things. The shop, however, doesn't work at night, so keep that in mind when planning your day. You can sell quite a few things at the shop. Usually I only sell the ones that say specifically that they sell for a high price. My top recommendations to buy are the steel net trap and the storage box. This keeps even if you run out of oxygen, so it's a must have. Tip number 13. Don't keep oxygen on your usable tab. Try to switch it out with something else because you can accidentally use it when you don't intend to. This can often happen when you're disassembling things. Tip number 14. Don't be afraid to dash or swim out of the way. It does use oxygen up slightly faster, but you would have lost more oxygen from being damaged in the process. This is especially important during boss fights. Now that you know which weapons to use, what to upgrade, how to handle storage and maintaining your oxygen, you are ready for a boss fight. Tip number 15. Don't be scared to do a boss fight. You can retry as many times as you like without losing anything in your inventory. Just don't leave the fight once you start it. Try to stock up on oxygen and ammo before entering known boss fights, but you can't anticipate all of them, so don't worry if you accidentally encounter one with the wrong build. Just take a breath and find its weakness and its patterns, and you can do it. Once you defeat the boss, you can take a breath. Your oxygen will stop depleting while you're in the boss arena, so no need to worry. This leads me to the next two tips. Tip number 16 and 17. Boss fight meat and menu control. You've defeated your first boss and harvested its meat. What now? You generally need to research boss fight meat dishes. Once you can make a dish, put only that dish on the menu and monitor it. And once it sells out, immediately put something else and set it onto auto supply. This will force all 10 boss fight dishes to be sold and to make the most money and not waste your hard-earned boss fight meat. Tip number 18. You can see employees' max stats and skills before hiring them. This should make a choice of who to hire for more long-term setups a bit easier. Tip number 19. Upgrade employees before events even if you think you'll get better ones later. There are uses for better employees, even if it's not at your restaurant. I won't get into too much of that because of spoilers, but dispatch is one of those. That brings me to tip number 20. Dispatch your extra employees as soon as possible. It's a good idea to stockpile some of those ingredients from the dispatch early on. They are very useful for making some of the more expensive dishes. And for those of you who stuck around till now, here are two bonus tips. Tip number 21. In the fish farm, right bumper can make it easy to clean fish. I was too scared to do this when I played, but I accidentally clicked on it, and when I did, I realized there was nothing to worry about. It really does make it super useful to quickly clean out the tank while keeping 2 of each fish to continue reproducing. And finally, tip number 22. I keep struggling to remember how to change the ship's skin, so for those of you like me, go to the yellow box and look at the bottom left corner, hit square and voila! And that's it for today. Those are the 20 tips and the 2 bonus tips. If you did like this video, do remember to like and subscribe. It does help, especially when it comes to the algorithm. And there are loads more videos like this on the channel. There's a bunch of Dave the Diver Let's Plays on the channel, so do check those out if you want to. And that's it from me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye bye.